countdown to the most wonderful time of the year has begun. Are you excited? I know I'm definitely looking forward to getting presents for Christmas, drinking my sorrel, and eating some nice fruitcake. But even in this time of merriment, we still have to consider our safety as we go about our business. Hello, thanks for joining us for another edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm Theodore Henry, your host for the next half hour. We have a lot in store for you, so please stay with us.
Prevent chikungunya. Get rid of mosquito breeding sites around the home. Empty dish drainers and keep refrigerator troughs dry. Punch holes in the bottom of tin cans before placing them in the garbage. Keep houseplants in damp soil instead of water and keep flower pot saucers dry. Keep drains, ditches, roof gutters and eaves clean so water will drain properly. And remember to open your windows during fogging. Also, wear light-colored clothing and cover your body as much as possible to prevent mosquito bites. For more information on chikungunya prevention, call the Ministry of Health toll-free at 1-888-1-LOVE. That's 1-888-663-5683. Mondays to Fridays, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. A message from the Ministry of Health.
Good day, I'm Tamara McHale and this is your GIS News for Monday, December 8. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller has called for greater dialogue and constructive engagement to secure progress and prosperity for the people of Jamaica, Cuba and the rest of the Caribbean. Mrs. Simpson Miller was speaking in Havana on Sunday at an official ceremony to commemorate the 118th anniversary of the death of Cuban liberator and hero, Lieutenant General Antonio Maceo. She said Jamaica would continue to stand steadfast with Cuba in the struggle to attain peace, progress, and sustainable development. The Prime Minister is also in Havana for the 5th Summit of the Heads of Government of CARICOM and Cuba. At Monday's summit, she led discussions on a range of trade, investment, and cooperation issues between CARICOM countries and Cuba. The Prime Minister, who left the island on Saturday, returns to office on Tuesday, December 9. Some hotels are reporting high occupancy levels as the winter tourist season approaches. Tourism and Entertainment Minister Dr. Wickham McNeil says most of the hotels on the North Coast are solidly booked through to early January. Meanwhile, Finance Minister Dr. Peter Phillips says early estimates suggest an increase in stopover arrivals for the last quarter of 2014.
October was 9+% above last year October in increases. November running to date is about 10% above. If we keep that pace, then new records are going to be set.
Local average daily rates for hotel booking costs, which signal the strength of the country's tourism brand, are up by 13 to 15% over last year. And the country is on track to record 3.5 million cruise and stopover arrivals this year. There is no patient suspected of having the Ebola virus being treated at the Kingston Public Hospital or any other health facility. That assurance comes from the Southeast Regional Health Authority, SARA, in response to media reports. SARA says an individual was brought to KPH's Accident and Emergency Department for treatment after complaining of feeling ill. The patient had no travel history or any other contact with persons from any of the Ebola-affected countries. The health team donned protective gear and the patient was screened and taken to the isolation area in the hospital, as is done routinely for anyone displaying symptoms similar to an infectious disease. The patient was treated and released. Jamaicans should soon find it easier to purchase homes after the Senate's passage of the Mortgage Insurance Act last Thursday. The legislation increases the rate of mortgage indemnity insurance that's granted for the appraised value of properties for sale. By moving the rate from 90 to 97%, potential mortgagors will now only be required to put forward 3% of the price of a house as down payment. plus an estimated 2% closing cost.
This compares to the current down payment requirement of 10 to 15% plus closing costs of approximately 2%, which is frankly out of reach of many Jamaicans.
The legislation was passed in the House of Representatives on November 11 and will come into law after it has been signed by the Governor General and gazetted. And finally, the Westmoreland Parish Council has received 2 fire trucks and 2 ambulances to improve emergency response in the parish. The vehicles were donated by the government of Japan through grant funding of over $81,000. Minister of Local Government and Community Development Noel R. Scott says the units will allow for a more speedy response to fire and ambulance services within the parish.
We're working steadily to increase our capabilities in terms of the fire management and prevention in Jamaica.
And that's it for GIS News today. I'm Tamara McHale. Thank you for watching.
The Ebola virus is transmitted through direct contact with an infected person's blood or other bodily fluids like saliva, urine, stool, and semen. Symptoms of Ebola include sudden fever, intense weakness, muscle pain, headache, and sore throat. This may be followed by vomiting, diarrhea, and rash, and in some cases both internal and external bleeding, leading to death. Protect yourself. Avoid travel to Ebola-affected countries. Avoid contact with infected persons. Don't touch the body of someone who has died from Ebola. Wash hands frequently with soap and water and use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. To know more, call 1-888-663-5683.
It is the festive season and we all want to enjoy ourselves. So if you drink, don't drive. And if you drive, please drive within the speed limit and obey all the road codes. If you have an hypertensive patient or a diabetic patient, stick with your diet. As I said, do everything in moderation, don't overindulge. And if we all do that, we will have an enjoyable holiday.
It's CARICOM Cuba Day, and Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller and other regional heads are now in the Cuban capital for the 5th CARICOM Cuba Summit. Mrs. Simpson Miller is expected to be back in office tomorrow. In the meantime, let's get a quick recap of last week's activities within the office of the Prime Minister.
Prime Minister in Havana for 5th Summit of CARICOM Heads of Government and Cuba meeting. OPM to receive monthly reports from NHD Board, and West Kingston Commission of Inquiry gets underway. I'm Simone Wolf with Jamaica House Weekly. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller left the island on the weekend for Havana, Cuba, where she is holding talks with her regional counterparts on trade and economic related matters. On Sunday, Mrs. Simpson Miller called for constructive engagement to secure prosperity for the people of CARICOM and Cuba. She also spoke of the long-standing history and shared connection between Jamaica and Cuba and said Jamaica would continue to stand steadfast with its neighbor in the struggle to attain peace, progress, and sustainable development. The Prime Minister was addressing a function to mark the 118th anniversary of the death in combat of Lieutenant General Antonio Maceo and his aide Panchito Gomez Toro. On Monday, she also participated in the 5th Summit of the Heads of Government of CARICOM and Cuba and held talks to secure gains made in the Cuba-CARICOM Trade and Economic Agreement of 2000. Mrs. Simpson Miller returns to office on Tuesday. Before heading to Cuba, Mrs. Simpson Miller told Parliament that her office would be receiving regular reports on the operations of the National Housing Trust from its board. The Prime Minister was responding to questions Tuesday from opposition member Audley Shaw. She said her permanent secretary had not been receiving monthly briefs from the NHD board, but pointed out that the board was not required to submit that kind of reporting.
However, I can say to you that a letter was sent to the Housing Trust that we are to receive all minutes of meetings where decisions are taken, and the accounting officer will be keeping a very close watch on exactly what is happening in terms of the minutes from the meetings.
The Prime Minister also provided more information on the NHT's acquisition of the Orange Grove property in Trelawney, where the Outer Many Experience was operated. She said the full expenditure for the purchase was $208.25 million, of which $180 million was spent on the property and buildings, $2.1 million on equipment and chattels, and $25.25 million on administration and maintenance of the property. The NHT has spent an additional $19.9 million on various expenses since its purchase in March 2013. Mrs. Simpson-Miller also disclosed that she would be providing the Office of the Contractor General and the Auditor General's Department with all correspondence and documentations on the purchase. The Prime Minister also took time last week to greet delegates of the Caribbean Examination Council and the outstanding CXC student awardees for 2014. The top students hailed from Jamaica, Guyana, and Trinidad and Tobago. At Thursday's courtesy call, Mrs. Simpson-Miller encouraged the students to continue their high standard of academic excellence. Then on Friday, she feted senior citizens at an early Christmas treat.
God bless you. May He grant you good health and strength and long life.
And as the Office of the Prime Minister continued to spread early Christmas cheer, Information Minister Senator Sandra Faulkner participated in a carol service put on by the Hampton Old Girls Association on Sunday. And finally, the Commission of Inquiry into the May 2010 incident in West Kingston started last Monday. So far, 10 of 500 potential witnesses have taken the stand to give testimony into the events. The commission, led by Chairman Sir David Simmons, is being held from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. weekdays at the Jamaica Conference Center. And that's it for this week's Jamaica House Weekly. Join us next time for the latest stories coming out of the Office of the Prime Minister.
Welcome to the FSC Minute. My guest today is Larice Edwards-Brown, Director of Investigations and Enforcement with the FSC. Welcome to the FSC Minute, Larice.
Thank you so much, Nadine.
Larice, the December 2013 Securities Act amendments gave the FSC increased investigative powers. What has been instituted?
The amendments will allow certain benefits and remedies for the investors who have suffered losses or have otherwise been adversely affected by unfair or fraudulent practices of operators in the market. Now, it also allows the FSC to obtain information from licensees and registrants and other persons, and it broadens the range of circumstances under which the FSC may obtain search warrants, and it strengthens the FSC's powers to obtain information from licensees and registrants and other persons.
There's also increased powers given to the FSC in how we cooperate with overseas regulators.
Given the trans-border nature of crimes, it is necessary for regulators to cooperate with their overseas counterparts in order to combat financial crimes. The amendments to the Securities Act now allows any information obtained by the FSC pursuant to conducting an investigation to be shared with overseas securities regulators for the purpose of ensuring compliance with the securities laws administered by the securities regulator. This power may be exercised by the FSC whether or not the FSC has an independent interest in this investigation.
Thank you, Larice. My guest today was Larice Edwards-Brown, Director of Investigations and Enforcement with the FSC. For the FSC Minute, I am Nadine Newsom.
Pay attention. This next feature has some useful tips to ensure your safety as you shop, travel, and do what you do this season.
A motorist's ability to fully concentrate on the road is extremely important. Anything that requires a shift in focus should be avoided.
Smoking for one, drinking alcohol.
The drinking thing, I come from party and frost, that no worth it to dog. Mechanics man drivers, you know what I say?
If you are going to turn your radio up to a point where you can't hear anything around you, you're essentially deaf. How are you going to hear when an ambulance is coming through a red light, trying to get someone to the hospital or a fire truck? You're going to drive into the intersection and create an accident.
You can get distracted just about anyhow. You know, but yeah, because putting something in your mouth, you can just bop your eye and, you know, in space of a second, you are alive and others.
Reading newspaper is a no-no. You cannot be reading and driving at the same time. It's a no-no.
It's a loud music coming from some of these vehicles. Also, the way the public passenger vehicles drive, you have to be on the lookout for them at all times.
Something happen, like an accident happen, everybody slow down to look what is happening.
I've oftentimes been concerned about some of these very bright billboards that they put up at the driver's eye level. Oftentimes so bright that you can't even see the traffic light from the billboard.
The traffic environment is a busy one. Road users, drivers especially, have to be concerned with everything that is happening around them. But sometimes they engage in activities that limit their ability to be fully alert or react appropriately to situations. Driving distractions amount to anything that requires a driver to take his or her hands and eyes off the steering wheel or the road. Studies have shown that distracted drivers are setting themselves up for varying calamities. Drivers who use handheld devices are 4 times as likely to get into crashes serious enough to injure them. Using a cell phone while driving, whether it's handheld or hands-free, delays a driver's reaction as much as having a blood alcohol concentration at the legal limit of 0.08%. A driver sending a text message only has about 9% control of the steering wheel and the vehicle at the given time. Being distracted causes drivers to react more slowly to traffic conditions or events, such as another vehicle stopping or making a left turn or pulling out from a side road. Distracted drivers fail more often to notice or recognize potential hazards, including pedestrians, bicycles, or debris on the road. While these statistics are mainly from the United States, the situation in Jamaica is no less alarming, and authorities are taking note.
If it is that you are not familiar enough with your device that you can use it, find a play button without having to look at the device and take your eyes off the road and take your attention off the road, then don't use it. Set it before you start your journey, have your playlist ready, and continue on your journey. If you need to pay attention to it, pull off. It takes 25 seconds the most. Address your device, get the music you want to listen to, and continue on your way.
It is more important that you pull over, because sometimes the time you take to answer the phone, you're focusing on what you're hearing and not even paying attention to the road.
Consultation is taking place here in Jamaica about a law to ban the use of cell phones while driving by imposing fines and other sanctions. In the meantime, drivers of public passenger vehicles should not use cellular phones while driving.
Not ban altogether. If they use the earpiece, fine. As long as their hands are free to do the controls of the car.
Not really ban it, but a person himself must be more conscious, more conscious knowing that, all right, we have people in the vehicle, or may I protect myself and other people at the same time.
Yes, because my sister was hit by a car, and it was by somebody who was actually driving and using his cell phone, didn't see her crossing. So I'm totally against it. You know, I believe that there should be more that is done to prevent people from doing that.
Sometimes it's dangerous, depends on how you use it. Because sometimes you can be driving, and get an emergency call, and you have to take that call. And sometimes people just step on them BB, text, which don't make no sense. They can just wait.
When they attack, they not look for nobody. They don't even look where they drive go.
I think it is necessary, given the fact that if you look at the US statistics, 330,000 persons are injured every year because of persons using the phone while driving. It makes you 10 times more likely to be in an accident. So from simply the standpoint of protecting life and property, it is necessary.
I don't think they should ban it. There could have been some regulation where you use an earpiece or something, because if everybody have to pull over when you get a phone call, you're going to have chaos on the road. You understand? So if you use an earphone, that could work.
Using earphones or hands-free kits may allow a driver to still maintain control of the vehicle with his or her hands. But a driver's best bet is to refrain from using them altogether, as their focus will now largely be placed on the conversation. While cell phones may be the most common distractions, a host of other things may lead persons to take their attention off the road. Here are some general tips to deal with them. Plan your route beforehand to avoid getting lost or focusing on navigational systems such as GPS. Ensure that children use child seats and seat belts to prevent them roaming in motor vehicles. Turn down the volume of music played in vehicles. Refrain from texting, emailing, answering phones, or attending to pagers while driving or walking. Avoid reading while driving, whether newspapers, billboards, or other advertisements. Do not watch television or DVDs in your car while driving. Avoid multitasking, such as combing your hair or applying makeup while driving. Have your meal before beginning your journey to eliminate the need to eat while driving. And keep conversations with other passengers to a minimum. At all times, remember that you are ultimately responsible for your safety and that of others.
This is my appeal, Jamaica. Give blood for real.
Give blood and give the gift of life. So safe you don't have to think twice. Do what you can for one another.
Yeah, man.
Be a hero, be a blood donor.
Yeah, me people. Watch it. Give blood. For your sister and your brother, save the life of another. You might never know.
Give blood.
Cause you know a life you love. Many people want blood. The Father says so.
One blood.
Sign up today. Be a blood donor. Many people. One blood.
The holidays are about connecting with friends and loved ones and making time for fun. But even as you go about enjoying the holiday season, it's important to remember the hidden dangers. Consider these simple tips to keep safe around the home. Cut down overgrown hedges close to your home to improve visibility around your property, and watch out for persons acting suspiciously in your community. When inside, especially at nights, remember to secure windows and doors with deadbolts, and try not to leave keys where they can be seen from outside. If you are leaving your home, make sure to lock all windows and doors, and do not tell too many persons that you are going away for the holiday. Another safety tip to remember involves your house keys. Do not leave spare keys in mailboxes and other places around the home. If you must, leave them with a relative or a neighbor you can trust. It's recommended that you install a security system and safety lights that are triggered by movement, as these help to deter criminals. And if you feel there is an intruder inside your home, make an alarm for help or call the police. Do not attempt to investigate yourself. As you go about enjoying all the holiday has to offer, be vigilant and keep safe. And also, please remember your neighbors. Look out for anything or anyone suspicious and contact the police for assistance.
And that's our show. As always, your feedback is important to us, so please continue to send your questions or comments to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm. You may also join us on our social media platforms. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Our website, jis.gov.jm, has all the information you'll need to get you through this Christmas period, so pay us a visit today. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I'm Theodore Henry. Thank you for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.